family unit, and an extended family that cares a great deal about education and our youth. It's a proud name that represents farming traditions in the valley and its historic roots. It's a name that has come to prominence in the past decade due to the family's role as a lead plaintiff in the Lobato lawsuit under the direction of attorney Kathy Gebhardt. I want to recognize Kathy right now. Kathy's here. She is not only a tireless advocate for our students, but she's a tired advocate because she woke up at 3:30 this morning to return from London to be here today for this presentation. So, well, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. The Lobatos are role models for the kind of American spirit that makes us a great country and a great state. They care about what is right and are prepared to fight for it. Here's what the name Lobato has given to education in the past decade. 1, great visibility for a lack of adequate school funds, and that is still the story today. A direction for doing what is right, and inspiration for tomorrow. The person who has become the name and the face of the Lobato lawsuit is Taylor Lobato, and she is an inspiration. I'd like to invite her superintendent from the Central Consolidated School District and CASE past president, George Welsh, to come up to the stage to shed some more light on why Taylor Lobato is the honoree for CASE's highest honor, the Casey Award.
This begins my 17th year as superintendent of schools in Center, Colorado, and I can't tell you how honored I am to get to be here to do this. As perhaps you can tell by the fact that I've been superintendent of schools in the Center for 16 years already, and knowing the age of Taylor, you would probably be aware of the fact that the day Anthony and Denise arrived on the doorstep of Haskin Elementary School with Taylor, I was there. And I got to tell you this, it wasn't necessarily then, but I know by the time Taylor was in 4th grade that she was going to grow up to be an absolutely amazing individual. Of course, Taylor's receipt of this award is a direct result of the dignified way she conducted herself as the primary spokesperson behind the Lobato v. Colorado lawsuit. And the power of her testimony in court. I still tell everybody the earth shifted below me when she and Kenzo Kawanabe were talking about the conditions of schools in Colorado and the circumstances of some students. Before I ask her to come to the podium, I'd like to remind everyone of the many incredible people who stepped forward to challenge Colorado's status quo when it comes to public school finance. If not for the tenacious work of lead attorney Kathy Gebhardt, this thing never gets off the ground. She saw a problem, she felt there could be a solution, and she wanted to make sure the story would be told. If not for the wonderful family of Anthony and Denise Lobato for signing on to the lawsuit, but also dozens of other families all around the state who chose to do so as well, the case would have never taken flight. Anthony and Denise, and especially Taylor, in the end, sort of had the spotlight shown on them because their names were listed first. Finally, if not for the many school districts and public school leaders from around the state of Colorado who put their necks on the line and joined in on the lawsuit, the results would have never been so impactful. And I said 2 things there that are important. It's easy to be from Center, Colorado and say something's wrong. It's harder to be from Littleton, Scott Murphy, and say something's wrong. I think it's harder to be from Jefferson County and Cindy Stevenson to say something's really wrong here. And I really laud their courage as this case went forward. Also said impactful. Didn't we lose? course, we know the end result of Lobato was a sound defeat in Colorado's highest court. However, I hold the belief that the end result of the lawsuit will be a better, more adequate, and more equitable public education funding system for Colorado. Lobato v. Colorado told the stories and put the facts in front of the people, and now we all need to work together to find and see through political solutions to the problems that have been exposed. And personally, nobody told those stories better than Taylor Lobato. As I asked Taylor to come to the podium to accept this award, I would like to share a little bit of a secret with you. Perhaps you saw the picture of she and I in the Denver Post the day after the Lobato decision was rendered. When you glance at that, what it looked like was a beautiful young lady who had put her heart and soul into a momentous effort to fundamentally change the education system in the state, finally breaking down and letting her emotions loose after a tough decision. Key into what was really happening. And this is great when it comes to this moment. At that exact moment, in order to kind of pump her up for facing the press, which was not going to be easy, I hinted to her that I was aware that superintendent leaders and financial director leaders from around the state of Colorado had nominated her for this award. And when I explained to her that this award has gone to speakers of the House, governors, and people as great as Kathy Gephardt in the past. There was a Kathy Lobato once, wasn't there? That was when Taylor kind of started to bring a tear to her eye. Little old Taylor Lobato from Little Center, Colorado, at that time transitioning from a junior to a senior at Denver University, was going to be receiving the highest honor that the Colorado Association of School Executives could offer. That was what caused her to lean on my shoulder and reflect a little bit at that time. The Taylor Lobato I know, the one who was at that moment grappling with the reality of suffering a crushing defeat after an 8-year effort to improve educational opportunities for all students in Colorado, that Taylor went from that moment, stared down those cameras, stared down those reporters, and once again delivered an outstanding message to the media about what this was all about. I've never been more honored in my life to introduce a person to you, Taylor Lobato.